And what's funny about it is that I started off writing the entire thing and it turned like this course. And this is just the items to be putting on our calendar and talking about. So it's like I've almost created an entire course simply around calendar integrity and self-care. So it's almost like I thought it was the new year or something, even though I don't care about the new year being the reason to do anything. But the time works out pretty good. Now, so I want to hear from everybody. What was it like going through Christmas and New Year's with this new way of perceiving reality? What was it like going through New Year's and Christmas this year with this new way of perceiving reality? And I'll just do a quick little bit as the warm up so that y'all can jump in after. This was the first and only time I've actually enjoyed being in the valley with my mother, my stepfather, and my daughter for Christmas. It's always a big deal to have my daughter for the Christmas holiday. I've never felt comfortable, happy, my authentic true self when I'm at home, because I've always, even though I'm doing this work, I've still been hyper aware of any judgments that I may have for my family or any judgments my family may have for me. And walking into it this year with all the work I've done in the past, really culminating now and being in this beautiful place with my daughter, beautiful place with my mother, and actually for the first time feeling comfortable consistently around my stepfather because he's a good old boy, great guy. We just have not clicked for more than 30 seconds at a time. So it was a big deal. I was being myself the entire time when I was down there for the week with my daughter and didn't let anybody get to me. My mother's BS, loved her and let her go. Let her do her work. I was much less reactive to her, meaning that even my mental reactions usually are still pretty up, even though I don't always react vocally or take action. There's always still been the mental noise as I'm listening to her say the same old stories or have the same old judgments. I just was able to do the process internally and let it go, and just had a fantastic time, had tears of joy a lot. They're like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, I'm just really happy, guys. So I was happy to be here. So that was a beautiful thing. Also, I should have had a very impactful Christmas day because I had a triggering moment a year ago on Christmas Day, and it literally didn't even come to my mind. I didn't even think about it until like 3 or 4 days later. It was so gone. It was so gone that I was like, oh, that thing I was worried or aware might come up on Christmas Day totally wasn't on the freaking radar. And I've seen amazing things happen since then, because again, it's just one more piece that's like finally gone, a belief system that finally evaporated that I just ignored until it disappeared. So yeah, huge stuff happening for me. I'm gonna stop talking. I want to hear from y'all. I mean, Brian, Kendra, Daniel, Danny. It's a small group tonight, core group. I want to hear from y'all.
Yeah, I'd love to. I am wondering, I may have manifested like well, in some ways it was intentional, maybe it was unintentional, but I was originally planning to go down to California, and I was going to fly down there, spend a few days, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then come back the 27th. And I was really resistant to going down and just, yeah, having a hard time feeling like, yeah, I really want to go down. I really want to hang out. I didn't feel that energy. What I felt was, oh, I'm going to go down there and there's going to be a lot of emotional, stuff about, because last Christmas was with my dad. My dad passed away this year. And, I would have been going to my mom's house. And so it was just like, I had a lot of resistance. Well, this winter storm comes, all the flights are canceled. And I didn't go down to California. I just stayed up here. And I was reflecting on that, like, well, yeah, there was no storm here in Bellingham, but yet my flight got canceled. So I wonder what happened there. Maybe I manifested that whole outcome because I got to stay here and just more or less, I bought myself a new TV and I would just kind of watch movies and just had like a very, me Christmas, I guess. I was okay with it. I was a little bit sad to not be with family. So that was my experience. I don't know what I did there. Maybe I did manifest.
Well, I would say you definitely did. You definitely manifested something. I've definitely noticed several things like that, and I bet we're going to hear some things too, because when we're manifesting at the speed of thought, and we're just really realizing we always have, we just now have enough awareness to see it happening through the bridge of incidents. Is one of those terms. Bridge of incidents is the ability to see the domino effect of our thoughts, feelings in our body, then slowly manifesting in front of our eyes, where before we would see those things as chaos, conflict, something bad, right? Wanting to have a better job, and then having the feeling, the prayer, the wish fulfilled, and then tomorrow you get fired. And then going, oh my God, my life is over, versus no, you had to be fired to get the job that was going to get you the double the income that you were so sure you're going to get. It's our observation. When we learn these things are always there anyway, we just weren't noticing them. We then have more power over how we determine it happens. So I would say, yeah, so I'd ask you the question, do you feel more empowered to think you might not have manifested, or does it feel better so that you actually created it?
Well, I I did not spend time manifesting what I wanted down there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't visualize, me being there with my family, being happy, and I just didn't do any of that. I was like stuck in this kind of like I don't even want to really go. And then so
Well,
I
yeah.
didn't go. So there is some sort of empowerment there of like, well, even unintentionally or not consciously, this outcome that I kind of wanted to have happen happened.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. Heaven and hell, same single moment. It's our choice how we perceive it. We're always manifesting. We're either doing it by asleep, by default, unconscious, habitual, mundane, or it's sacred. We're worthy. We're empowered. We're choosing it consciously versus choosing it and not even remember that we did choose it, and then finding excuse that's coming on outside of ourselves. So awesome. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the nuance. That's the difference. And that great. After 2 weeks of not being in the class, I mean, that's pretty great awareness. So good stuff. Thank you, Brian. Daniel, Danny, Kendra.
I'll jump in and pardon me. I'm walking dogs at the moment. That's why I'm not on camera. So if I lose my focus for a second, it's because I've got a dog who's semi-anxious, but let me dive in. I mean, like everyone else, I'm sure it's been pretty interesting and pretty awesome. And at the same time, has not without its interesting moments. I almost want to say challenges, but I'm like, nah, it's interesting moments along the way. So with Christmas, so there's probably like three parts, and I'll try to keep them relatively concise. With Christmas, it was interesting, right? Because like it was the opposite. I found myself very triggered by my mother. She had a lot of judgments and questions about my tattoos and nail polish. Like literally, that was the first thing she said. And I recognized that. She's like, hi, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 3 months. What the hell's with all these tattoos and nail polish? Why are you doing this? And like lots of judgments, right? And she was like, well, like how much debt do you have? I'm like, no, actually not a lot. I'm paying it on my own schedule. She's like, well, you should take that money that you're spending on tattoos and pay your debt. And if I had probably had slept and not been gone out late with friends 2 previous nights in a row and not been just drained on the plane, I recognized I would have had a lot more patience and grace. But in that moment, it was reactive, but it was also like, I'm going to speak my truth. Like, this makes me happy. Like, I don't understand where it's my body. I'm fucking 38 years old. B, see, this is my body. And also, I was in a really shitty place like 6 months ago, and these things bring me joy and an outward expression, one of many outward expressions of the joy that I have now and the peace and the happiness that I have. And I haven't had that. And I'm just like, so you can fuck off. I mean, I didn't quite say it like that, but pretty close to it. And of course, I recognize even in that moment, I'm like, I am so reactive right now because I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I don't have the patience for it. Along the way, and it was not difficult Christmas, but she tends to be we have a history of her being kind of verbally abusive towards all of us, my siblings, my father, everything. And she was just upset. And the entire time, her being upset didn't trigger me. I mean, later on, because I was like, this is the choice that she gets to make. And I get to make my choices and choose my own life and create what I want. And if she wants to create this for herself, which is, I don't know, anger, misery, whatever, fine. But being true to being kind of living this way living in integrity meant me speaking my truth. There was a moment where she got aggravated about picking up my other sister at the airport and the car that we were taking. And she was in a state where she was very kind of still angry about other things. And so I didn't feel comfortable asking her for her car. So we were taking my sister's car. And she asked a question that I gave a white lie to, because we've spent an entire lifetime tiptoeing around her white lies to, you know, to not stir things up. And as we were driving, you know, as I was heading, you know, toward, as the day went on, I realized, like, wait, now I'm choosing to live out of integrity because it serves someone else. Like, that's not me. Like, I don't necessarily want to make my mother uncomfortable, but like, I can't create my own life by making choices based on someone else's need, you know, like, and solely. And so she actually called like 4 minutes later and was like, can you just take the SUV? And I was honest. I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm uncomfortable asking we're uncomfortable asking you for this when you're angry. It's very difficult and, you know, triggering, and like that created a shitstorm, you know, and she was upset at me. And we've had to have some very serious conversations since then, like that, you know, I could get into more details of, but it felt better to speak my truth, not because I'm like, yeah, I want to stir up argument or I'm triggered, but in that moment, I'm like, I can't create the life I want to create if I'm living out of integrity, which means I'm saying I'm bringing things to existence based on someone else. So like that felt really good. And that was fun. But I mean, other than that, Christmas was amazing. I think there were moments where, you know, the things that we've talked about, the old tools, the old ways aren't going to work. That's absolutely been 100% true. And I love that. And, you know, I would say the other thing as well, in the past couple of weeks, you know, I've had like the beginnings of this really amazing relationship kind of start to come around. It's my first relationship for about 2 years. I'm extremely happy. Like I couldn't imagine anything better. And a lot of it's come from actually, you know, manifesting this, like the sensations, the feelings, emotions of what sharing this level of physical and, you know, and emotional intimacy would be like. And it's like there was a moment where, you know, I've also been kind of casually dating other people, and there was a moment where I was supposed to have a date after when I came back, and I was like, you know, and this person was supposed to come over to my house, and something just didn't feel right. It didn't feel appropriate, you know, because I'm like, it's going to create this paired, because like this is going to create this paired emotional intimacy with someone else, and I'm going to splinter it off. And then I'm channeling it into two different areas that actually I want to choose this one thing and devote whatever energy I have reserved for intimacy with someone else into it. But it was like, no, if I do this, I'm out of integrity. And it was funny, like it was like last Tuesday, and I actually didn't. Like my only thing was I feel uncomfortable with this person coming into my home because I've already opened my home to this other person. So like I actually don't really want to go on this date. And then sure enough, like 2 hours before she calls me, I told her, hey, can we just go out, instead of saying, yeah, of course, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, holy shit, I just came back to my house and a water pipe burst in my backyard's flooded. No, I'm not saying that's my creation or my doing, but clearly like fuck. If so, wow, thank you, creator, for fucking up someone's water pipe on my behalf. But it was just like the perfect reasoning. Like it's like, yeah, I need to handle this shit. I'm like, yes, please do. And I've got a really busy week. And I finally got to the point where I'm like, yeah, actually, I don't have the space for you, blah, blah, blah. But I found it really comical that came about. Again, I want to say I manifested a water pipe break. Maybe I did. I don't know. But yeah, to summarize, really awesome experiences. I think there's more that can be done. I'd like to spend more time kind of thinking and actively like, what is it next that I want to generate and manifest?
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah,
what's next?
Yeah, opposite. It was almost like I was triggered because I needed it to be. Because if I had been calm, I might have let what my mother said slide, and all of my siblings agreed, like, you know, we've enabled her for so long, like it's time we spoke up. So we've kind of it's kind of created this really positive thing where my mom now has been examining her behavior and her choices, and she's starting to like apologize and come around. So bit of a backwards way of doing it, but it seems like that's also part of it too.
Daniel, when you're talking
thanks for
about,
listening. Go ahead.
you're talking about a different level of leading yourself, right? So you're talking about leading and speaking, leading your own self. That comes through speaking your truth, right? There's a chakra for that whole thing. So that is step 7 before you cross over into being. And what you're describing, I've experienced in moments when I finally once and for all ended that relationship that I was in February. I remember seeing the text messages that I was receiving, having the thoughts in my head, knowing what was a pattern and knowing what was me in control of my thoughts. And I intentionally, from a place of empowerment, my heart was up, still elevated, but I was in control of and how I knew I was safe was my breathing. I know that's why I want everyone to remember the shield, still do that awake process, and notice your breath, because your heart rate can still go through the roof. But when you're still perceiving reality like at half speed in those moments, because your awareness is heightened, but you're not going into beta survival mode, you're actually staying in a high alpha, high gamma, your perception is time warping everything. And I remember being able to simultaneously say the things in text that I needed to say that I knew would end this relationship once and for all, because I did not have any care about what they thought about my texts. And I was not going to respond to anything that came back to me. And I was happy. And I was watching myself do this, and I knew that I was 100% in control. Now, as far as psychology would say, they would say the only way I could have been in control is if I didn't do anything at all, when that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actually being in our power, being authentic, being more in integrity versus being accountable. We're removing the labels of what we should or shouldn't do, right? Fingernail polish, tattoos, answering questions, from our mother to our mother around money. I've had that same stuff, those same type of conversation with her. It's about us being in faith, being aligned. And it sounds like you were able to stand up for yourself by speaking your truth without exaggerating. And therefore, yeah, it was meant to be. And I was waiting for you to complete. And as you got to the end of it, right, you were talking about how there was a domino effect that shows that was from alignment. That was not from shadow, right? The outsider observing would say whatever they want to put on it, but you were letting yourself be you in the moment, you doing the work, right? Could you have done it differently? Of course you could have, but it sounds to me like you were right there. And I love it. Also showed up in your other process you were talking about. Did it feel like you were turning this, we'll call it romantic interest, the other romantic interest away mentally out of a feeling that you should, or because you truly wanted to focus your energy on one place?
Oh, the latter, 100%.
Yeah, it sounded like that completely.
It just, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it sounds, because again, I know I've worked with you before, right? So for a long time, and I could see yourself projecting other stuff in that moment to either A, allow it to still happen, B, to push it away from a place of shaming or resistance, or like I'm not supposed to. But you sounded like you're making a choice. I want more of this instead of that. So it sounded fantastic. So I'm really glad you shared all that intimate detail, because this is the work, right? It's going to show up where we need it the most. We practice where we think we're practicing it, but then when we're in our relationships with people, romantically is how I developed all this work in the first place, was my relationships with women. It's all expanded from that. So awesome example. Thank you so much for sharing all those details. Awesome. Thank you. Kendra, Danny, you waiting for gonna put it on Kendra? Okay.
I feel like I shared this with you during our one-to-one session in terms of like Christmas. But I would say that my interaction with my dad was definitely an example of me being in a different state, just because things that he would say that would usually trigger me or just kind of make me go silent. That wasn't the case like this Christmas. And I feel like I was able to decide when to speak up and then when to just like let him do his own thing, because
Mhm.
I, recognize that that's like his stuff. And I didn't let that become my stuff. And I think I'm just continuing to realize that I like my husband and my dad are, the are pretty much the same person. And that's where
That
that's
was
why
new
I'm,
for you. That was new for you, though. That was a new idea.
yes, yes. So I don't know. It was definitely a lot of observation happening. And yeah, it was good. It was enlightening, to say the least.
Yeah, you're able to look at it, process it, see it for what you choose it to be, not for what it was presented as.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's
right.
cute though. Like it's funny to think like that never came up before. Like, wow, my dad and my husband are very like they're like the same thing. I'm like, that's probably pretty accurate. That's what we
Yep.
do. That's what we do. That's why I
Yep.
tell my daughter, I'm like, good luck. Good luck. Right. I mean, she likes girls right now, but there's something that's still going to show. That's going to show up somehow, right? That's like good luck, Oh, I went on 2 dates since I saw y'all last. Like seriously, like weird. What's up with that? So first time going on a date with a new person since my ended my that 3-year relationship that I was in, and it's really really interesting to see because I intentionally didn't date anybody. I did go out with 2 girls over the last 9 months or so that I'd already been in a relationship with over 10 years ago. So they were much younger than me. And it was not even enjoyable, like at the base level. It was like just literally feeling boredom with that time. So I was like, yeah, well, I just don't want to right now. And I get so much intimacy from this work that we're doing. I rarely feel the need for any of that fulfillment. Now, after I went through this process and Thanksgiving was a emotional moment that got triggered that I processed and let go in anticipation of some kind of painful Christmas memory. And then that was gone, didn't even happen. So I went on a date before Christmas and a date when I came back from Christmas. And it's going to sound really funny, but I'm fucking amazing. I'm just saying, like, I am pretty fucking amazing to get to date. Like, now, logically, I already knew that through doing self-development work over the years. Like, I started realizing a few years ago, wow, I'm pretty badass. I'm pretty good at a couple of things as far as dynamics with women. And I come to terms with, I was like resisting that because I thought I'd be cocky by even owning it myself. But beyond that, like just really going through the healing process and teaching others to heal while they go through divorce, go through the breakup, go through the business challenges, right? Dating. I just did not realize the impact on me going from, hey, I'm out of this relationship and I'm aware of my own patterns of behavior that showed up that were old, also the ones that were created just in this relationship. I'm aware, I'm doing all those things, but to actually be on a date with a complete stranger and do all the things that y'all hear me talk about all the time in real time was like, I was like watching a movie I was like in a movie where I was taking a complete stranger, having my own judgments about what they were saying, what they looked like, their behavior, what they were saying to me, what I perceived as the inability to hear any answer to any of the questions they asked me without asking other ones. So I was like, wait a minute. And I realized like, this could be insecurity. This could be my insecurity. What's it going to be, Anthony? I just did the work. And over the course of this evening, just continuing to turn inward, not due to conflict, just because I want to have a good time and it's early night and here with this beautiful woman here this beautiful evening. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to stop judging every single thing that they're doing, which means I'm going to stop judging every single thing that I'm doing. Now she got more attractive. Her language changed. The intimacy was there. And I was just more authentically myself. I had a fantastic evening, and obviously had a second date, and we're looking forward to a third one. So just the idea of everybody that's going to watch this someday, right? There's never any excuse to stop looking inward first, because that's where all the magic is. That's where all the power is. Doing all this work and knowing what to look out for in the conventional terms would have had me miserable within the first 10 minutes of this date, and then trying to get out of it or pretending to get through it. And then, right, domino effect. Why spend the money? Why spend the time? I would have been talking about this for 2 weeks. What could have been a lost opportunity turned into an opportunity to get more intimate with myself, and thereby creating intimacy with another woman for the first time since my breakup. So take the hint. Like, there's never an excuse that's worth it, right? I'm still gonna get triggered. I'm still gonna get sad sometimes. I had a thing happen 10 minutes before the call, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so triggered. I need to cancel this tonight, right? Because it was like, oh my God, that's what I got for answering and looking at my email right before I get on the call. And, well, Anthony, does it really matter? No, not really. It could if I wanted it to be. If I wanted to make that excuse, I could probably get away with it. It's 2 days after Christmas, New Year's, right? No worries. Integrity with myself means I'm always going to do the work on myself first and then choose. So thank you so much for sharing that Kendra. Danny, are you in a place to share, or are we gonna pass?
Yeah, I can share.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So I didn't want to go like first or middle, but I want to go last because mine's different.
Yeah.
Mine's a little different. So my Christmas break and holiday was I would like to say I had a underlining subconscious projection of patterns that have happened in the past. And I didn't realize this until it all had happened and it was over with. But basically, like every Christmas for the last 5-6 years has been awful at my house. And this one, I think I'm still kind of manifesting some negative crap because I lost a lot of time with my kids, and that wasn't intentionally. And going through that was hard because I could have reacted a whole lot more. There was one night I took my kids like on my time to like, we have 100-foot tall electric Christmas tree here and Santa and a carousel. And so I took them there for my night, and all of a sudden their mom shows up like in the middle of it. I'm just like, wow. Now, do I ruin the whole night because of that? Fuck no. I became aware of the energy shift. Mm-hmm. Like it was happy, free energy with me and my kids, and then that happened and the energy shifted, and I had to make a choice. Like, do I react? Do I tell the kids we're leaving? And that split second of understanding, not gonna ruin this night, I let that go almost instantly. And then continued my night out. It was interesting. I made it really fun for the kids. So, but then after that, I've been stuck in this place of thinking like she's never gonna leave, and it's just like this dark little speck in the back of my head that I haven't noticed until now. Is that and then I keep going back to this spot. I kind of referred to it last time we were talking. And it's a spot in my it's a visualization in my head. I got this visualization. I got stuck. And so I created a door, right? I created that door. Well, over the last 2 weeks, that door is now turned into a room. Oh, so it's getting bigger. And I'm having a hard time figuring out how to open that door. So I think it's borderline fear. And yeah, it's a rough ride right now. And the other thing that was cool, it was really cool though. Mm-hmm. the other thing that I was understanding is that I'm learning in all of this. Like I'm sitting here and I'm picking pieces apart of my awareness and knowing what I did and what I would desire to do intentionally in the future. So I'm learning a lot. And so I was explaining it to one of my friends, and he's like, man, like that sucks. Like, and I'm like, no, it doesn't really suck. Like I'm just kind of like learning because I'm gonna go back up. So once I get through this, it's just this one's taking a little longer, and that may be some of my impatience. That's the resistance towards wanting to get back. Try and let that shit go. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Sorry, that just
No worries. Danny, you know what it is, right? So you mentioned something. She's never going to go away. She's
Yep.
never going to leave. I
Yeah,
mean,
that just
that makes sense, right? So logically, remember,
Mhm.
masculine
Yep.
energy, my conscious mind, it makes perfect sense. If everybody on here knew all the details and how long you've gone up to this point and knowing when your court date is, it
Ah,
makes logical sense that that is going to be in your head, that she's never going to go away. So just don't, but again, it's the attachment to what the conscious mind is telling you that's the
mhm.
painful part. Remember, you're already aware of that. So that's not
Yep.
new information, right? But something was showing up. And again, I know from doing our work for as long as we did, your habitual pattern that shows up is when you're cruising, you think you're falling. And this sounds
Yeah.
kind of familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Because you're
Yep.
like, I'm processing. You're like, it's almost like you're validating why you're not flying anymore.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
people, remember, there's a stage where we all go through, we have to stop validating while we're in pain. You're validating why you're not flying high. So stop that.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
You're it's I'm gonna use Daniel's example, right? He made choices that maybe the old Daniel would have been like, man, I should have done that. And he would have had a different reaction. Now Daniel is so online and in integrity with himself, the behavior, he's even judging the behavior differently, right? So I did my first like true blue case study in years, and I interviewed this gentleman, and at the end of it I asked him, what is different, these questions, like, for testimonies. I said, what was life like before? And he describes it, da, 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 da. And then I said, great, now what's life like now? And he had this big smile on his face. He's like, the same. And we started laughing because, again, we do not want to change our behavior. We do not manipulate the mirror of reality. You can't bend it, you can't break it. It's going to instantly come back over and over and over again, right? How many times have we had a fight with a loved one that we actually won the fight, and then the next day it starts all over again, and they don't even remember it? It's pointless. We cannot affect our reality by exerting force. So you probably did exactly what you would have done before as far as the physical actions. Your awareness is different. If you had gone through this exact same moment in time a year ago, you might have done exactly the same thing, but been upset, couldn't sleep,
Yeah.
Faking it for your kids because you're supposed to. Versus, something kind of sucks, right? Everything is great. Everything, remember, it's this, right? Don't, for you specifically, since very early on, when you take one step down, you keep thinking you fell off the fucking ladder. So stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? The logical thing is the physical part of reality, the part that is time-based, is you're in this situation for a long haul.
Yeah.
And even though you've been a rock star since the very beginning, there are going to be periods where you just look at the sheer, like, what? How long? How long is this supposed to, what? And the fact you're doing amazing, sometimes going to make you go, well, you know what? I should get upset about this. Okay, I will every once in a while. Okay, how long? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be really mad. And that's what you do. And you're like, but the other things that we're not going to talk about that you're doing on the other parts of your life are obviously expanding, right?
Oh,
You could
wow.
be right? If you were here on a different night, you'd be talking about all that stuff, all those amazing things that are happening. People would be going like, "You're doing all that while you're going through a divorce? What?"
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. So do you hear me?
Yep. I'm hearing you.
All right.
Killing
Stop
it.
that. Stop that. Okay. All right. Anybody want to throw in some feedback? Because obviously we're having an in-depth conversation. I want to jump into the material, but anyone want to give any feedback, any secondary like things like ahas, like Brian, Daniel, Kendra that you're hearing, you want to share, or we're gonna move on? They were good. Okay, awesome. So what's the big idea? We're talking about calendar integrity. Now, where is this coming from? On a different document, when I've like written probably with the entire course, that could be this. I talk about this friend of mine that came back into my life a few years ago. And she's somebody that I had a romantic interest in long time ago. We had a connection, but nothing happened because she was in a relationship. And she surfaces like a few years ago. And, we're older and she's definitely got a certain body type. And whenever it came down to the conversation of food, she's very spiritual, very intuitive, right? Very body positive. But yet, anytime we talked about food for ourselves or anybody else, there was this, I had to hear her say over and over again, I'm an intuitive eater. I'm an intuitive eater. Yeah, I'm a spiritual person. I can definitely say that I'm a spiritual person to excuse my accountability and integrity and spiritual bypass too. So what is this about? It's one thing to be suffering in hell and feel stuck with no way out. And I'm going to have to get angry or really upset or maybe a little bit of hatred to bust out of hell, right? That empowerment, the courage to break through barriers comes with a lot of force and energy and exertion in the beginning. And then we want to move the fuck away from it as soon as possible, or else we're just angry all the time. It worked momentarily for what it was needed to be, and then we have to move on. So in the spiritual realm, it's so easy to be, quote unquote, a hippie, right? Not grounded, unable to show up on time for anything, out of accountability as a rule, and go, I'm spiritual, I'm intuitive, right? I make an agreement, but I'm not going to keep it because, I'm going with the flow. There is a delicate dance of living in the 3D physical world that's manifested, the objectified reality, and understanding the subjective, the spiritual, the feminine, the unlimited, the unknown nature of our existence. And it's very easy and kind of lazy sometimes, and I'll say this for myself, to just default to the one that fits the narrative that I need to get what I want. So how do we know? How do we know? This whole program has been about how do we know? Well, it's about awareness, right? We have to do the tools to be aware, understand what our conscious thoughts are and are not, understanding what our reality is that we're experiencing based on our senses, and knowing that we are conditioned to only assume reality through our five senses, and yet that's actually not scientific or religious fact. It's the opposite, and yet we're living here right now. You're looking at me, you're hearing my voice, right? I'm seeing myself on camera. I'm seeing my notes. I'm seeing Danny as the screen, Danny Moyes here on Zoom popping up as my center. I'm perceiving reality through my five senses, but that's only one state of my being. That is the most limited form of my being. The spiritual part of me, we're all the same person. We're all part of the infinite. We are all one. So how do we live a physical manifested reality while living it and experience it through the unlimited, the unknown, the spiritual lens? It's about self-care still. It's about self-care since the beginning, and it's always going to be about self-care. So we have to find a way to make a routine that fits our new life. And the difference between this routine that you're going to hear is it's not about accountability. It's about integrity. If I ignore the opportunity to get what I want in life because I don't want to have rules or guidelines or a plan because I have to follow it, if I ignore that opportunity because I don't want to mess up, screw up, let myself down, let you down, then I'm still only living the asleep creator consciousness. I am living in the mundane. I'm going by an old pattern. I'm still making excuses to not be who I truly am. So this calendar revolution, this integrity piece is based around prosperity, which is about money, money as fluid as water and the air that we breathe, and love, which is unconditional and comes out of us whether we want it or not. It's who we truly are. So prosperity and love, as far as our integrity, are aligned with our source based on many spiritual teachers that have consolidated down into very generic words so that you can use these to plot on your calendar every day moving forward, and then you change the words. You with me? Does anyone understand? Anyone want to comment real quick? What's it like to feel like, oh, now we're going to talk about getting my life in order on a calendar? What's the first thing that comes to mind as resistance? Anyone want to share? What's the first thing going, no, I can't do this? What's the first idea you're coming up with?
I haven't done this
point.
my whole life.
Well, damn it. Wow. Congratulations. I'm the first person to do it with you then. Great.
But I need to do it. So I'm like, yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Anybody else? I think someone else, I think that was Daniel. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. Done it before. Hasn't worked before. And it's too rigid and structured. I have to be kind of with the flow type of shit, which I also disagree with.
Exactly.
And
right.
it's like, it's kind of in its full like binary form. I feel like the truth is somewhere like in the in-between paradox.
Yeah. And I think that, and again, this is like, I worked on it for like a couple of days, and then I'm ending up showing you really just the inputs that are really important. And then we'll do either another class or I'll do a live, and we're all invited to actually go through like this whole concept, because it's obviously the next evolution, because everyone's getting on this program now. Everyone's going to be using their calendar moving forward with me and all my work, because I found a way that gives us that structural tension with flexibility. So it's still about integrity, not accountability. So I really appreciate you saying that, Daniel, what you're talking about. Because again, it's like, wait a minute, too much is too much and too little is too little. What the fuck? What the hell? Right? And we have to constantly look where we're getting in our own way. And part of the old tools that I'm letting go is the idea of I have to have a day that only has so much structure. That worked for me. That worked perfectly. Nothing's wrong with that. But to go where I'm going next, I got to do something different. And I'm not going to shame anything I've done before. And it's not better. It's different. And it's always going to be flexible, which is why I really love how I laid this out. And I hope that it lands on y'all too. So since it's just, I didn't put this in the map yet, let's go ahead and do an actual share.
Anthony, I think I'm going to have the opposite problem, because I got really excited because I like calendars. I like planning, and I feel like I need to like allow myself more flexibility. So I feel like I'm going to have the opposite problem.
But again, so thank you. So that's your resistance that's coming up, right? I asked for what's the resistance. So what is that telling you?
That I shouldn't take it too literal.
Yes. Right. So Daniel was commenting on too much structure doesn't work for him. He wants to be in flow, but also his experience being in flow so much is like, okay, wait a minute. Where's the balance? We're talking about balance. We're talking about harmony, right? We've already shared this with everybody before. Like, you're an overconsumer. You can get stuck on consuming, right? And routines, and with your lifestyle, with the work you do for a living, it makes sense. You are good at structure. So this is going to, same reason why I would say to Daniel, right? He's going to see a lot of flexibility in this to address his concerns both ways. You're going to see flexibility here, where before you're probably thinking of it's about accountability and having my strict guidelines, and there's less flexibility because, again, your resistance is showing your behavior of thought. Your first thought is, oh no, I'm going to have more things on the calendar that I have to do. No, I want you to stop thinking about things you have to do. And I think it'll make sense. Is that good for now? That makes sense for you? And that makes sense.
Yes.
Where you're going with what you got planned, you need more flexibility, not more rules, not more strictness. Because again, you're changing from, your life is going to be a whole lot more free very soon here. And yet you're still doing things to start and create a business. So you're still gonna have a lot of structural tension. But if you behave like an employee as you run your business, you're gonna be miserable, right? Accountability becomes a priority, and then your integrity goes out the door. And as a business owner, right, I know, Daniel knows, that is one more foot in the grave. It's just different than the other ones. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you for for speaking up about that. So, all right, so here we go. Prosperity and love routine. This is the process, because again, there's a whole other piece to this that's much longer. So this is the process. So I'm keeping track of everything. Are you tired of feeling like you're stuck in a repetitive cycle and unable to break free? Do you want to stop surviving and instead start thriving and living a life of prosperity and love? Then it's time to start planning your daily and weekly intentions. Notice I said intentions, not goals. We're already changing the narrative here. Use these helpful suggestions to plot them in the times that you choose and make them the priority. And I'm saying them because it's so easy to say, oh, let me wait until next week shows up, and then let me see where I can put these things in there. Yeah, that's still default unconscious creation. We put this on the calendar. This adds to our creation, and we start creating time around these points. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to start somewhere to get these things on the calendar and make them repetitive. So stop regurgitating the same life over and over again and take control of your destiny. It's time to break free from the mundane patterns of survival and awaken the power of your vision and mission. So a concept to understand here is that patterns always win. I mean, we have proof of this, right? This is a positive example, but look at take a moment and think about all the things that have been a challenge in your life, a problem, the assumptions, the things that have happened over and over and over again. Guess what? That means those patterns were always winning. So again, by accepting that hell is this thing that we're putting damnation and pain on, right, and assumptions and labeling as a bad thing, that limits the opportunity to see the proof, right? The reality is that pattern wins. So all we have to do is create another pattern, period. So the most successful and powerful people in history had a routine. You must have an intentional yet flexible, specific daily and weekly routine to manifest the reality of your choosing. Resist the old patterns that tell you that you can control your day. That we'll see how well I wrote this. You can control your day, as well as the urge to passively, spiritually bypass this process with the illusion of living an intuitive daily practice. Those patterns and beliefs will no longer serve you, right? There's a stage where living intuitively helps. To go to where we want to go, we want to be intuitive with intention, with action, with inspired action. Now, achieving prosperity, your vision and mission require planning, focused, authentic discipline, and emotional regulation. You want concrete results desired and persisted on, as well as tools to emotionally guide yourself from moment to moment in each task in alignment with your faith, until you believe and attain your mission. This is a journey that will require dedication, focus, and constant effort. You must be willing to put in the mental work necessary for success. Again, mental work is the priority here. Now, talking about the actual process, calendar integrity. Take a step back and observe your weekly schedule from an aerial 30,000 foot view, right? The whole of your life on a calendar view. The waking up, the food, the fun, the intimacy, the socializing, the work, the thoughts that keep us from ever resting and relaxing when we do have downtime. Look at my week schedule from an aerial perspective. I can see that I have a lot of ground to cover. I have a lot of meetings, and I need to make sure that I'm able to get everything done. I also have a lot of work to do on my own projects. I need to make sure that I'm able to get everything done. I need to make sure that I'm able to do it in a timely manner. I also need to make sure that I'm able to take care of my personal time. I need to make sure that I'm able to spend time with family and friends. Now, blocking out program time. So if you're in the group, if you're in a class, you're taking another class, like Kendra's taking another class outside of this, right? She has a lot of work to do. Anything you're working on that is important in your life, if you are going to wait for the time to do the work, if you're going to wait until you're done doing your activities, wait till you have all your stuff done, wait till your obligations are fulfilled to start working on your passion project or something you paid for, guess what? It's not going to happen. You're going to skip those classes. You're going to do the homework at the last minute, regardless of how much you paid for it. I mean, let's be honest. if we have a habit of not taking care of ourselves or doing the things to advance our own personal, spiritual, or financial development, no matter how much we spend on it, we still won't do the work unless we make it a priority and schedule it to be done, not wait to be done to do that work. So it's important to spend time reviewing your materials, notes every week, your journal entries. I saw Daniel made a post. He's doing reflections today on Facebook, right? I know Daniel's going to, he goes back, he's an active journaler. He reviews his notes. So when he does coursework, he's going to review them, right? So take that example, block out time to go over your notes. Make sure you have a full understanding of your program, whatever book you're reading, whatever course you're studying, before you go on the next topic. Don't just look at it as time-based to get through as fast as possible. No, you have to understand it and integrate, or else you're just learning the next piece without ever understanding what you just learned. Therefore, it's just, again, more consuming and regurgitating the same thing. Remember, we've seen in the last couple of years, people have been really promoting like book boxes, book clubs, where they're going to like 3 or 4 or 5 books a month. And the assumption is that they're advancing in life. I don't know about them, but for me, if I'm reading 5 books a month, I'm not understanding any of it. I'm going to become a name dropper and regurgitating the book name, the author, whatever I read about this in the summary, or 2 or 3 pieces I gleaned after I read the whole thing. I'm not going to integrate it. I'm going to read it. So that's me personally. So schedule time to do your work on your projects. Now, sleep. Sleep is so important. Plot your bedtime and rise time. Aim for 6 to 8 hours every day and stick to the same schedule. Now, I've been doing this for the last 2 weeks, and yet I didn't do that New Year's or Christmas. So do I use that as a reason to not do it the rest of the week? No. I still have it on my calendar. There's still a notification telling me it's time to go to sleep. I am aware that that is my normal sleep time. I'm choosing to ignore it on the days I'm not going to follow it. But I'm not going to use that excuse to not put it on the calendar and make that my normal time. We're going for consistency, not absolutes. There's still flexibility. So I usually go to bed around 10 o'clock and wake up at 5:30. This allows me to get around 6 to 8 hours of sleep every day. I stick to the same schedule so I don't get too tired and stressed out throughout the day. This has helped me to stay productive and, right, it's productive and relaxed throughout the day, because I can be productive and not relaxed. I think we all know what that's like. Not fun. And there's going to be an impact. I have to spend more time relaxing afterwards because it's accumulative. So we have to make sure we're paying attention to our sleep cycles. Exercise. Schedule daily activity, 30 to 60 minutes to get serotonin into your body, right? Dopamine is the feel good, right? Getting validated, getting a like or comment on Facebook, being told you're awesome. Dopamine. When you generate it on your own, it's serotonin. That's a wake time hormone. The body pumping. This is not just about going to the gym because it's the time of the year. We're talking about walking your dog, right? I don't walk my own dog enough. So if I commit to walking him every day for 30 minutes, I'm already making huge strides from the sedentary life I've turned into the last year or two. Does that mean I'm only going to do that? No. A month from now, I'm going to want to go to the gym, and I'm already going to have a habit of getting my body active if I do the schedule every single day. It's about consistency. It's not about hurting my body. It's not about having strict rules that I have to do these things every day. It's about taking care of myself, getting my blood pumping, getting out. Hello, COVID made us all stay home, and we had to like find excuses to go outside. This is a great one. So going out in the morning, working out in the morning is the best time because we have the best time to break our fast. There's more hormones released that way, more testosterone naturally produced in the body, more feel-good hormones are produced throughout the day when we break our fast or work out in a fast state first thing in the morning. It gears us up to handle things and be more relaxed throughout the day. Sleep and exercise, so crucial. Now, this is one that I find I've had a hard time doing, showering daily. This is silly, right? Now, if I work out every day, I'm going to shower. But if I'm not, I'm on camera. It's so easy just to not worry about that when I'm creating a program, following up with clients, doing the work side of the business and also my own obligations in my personal life. I can say, I don't need a shower today. Well, I've changed that because energetically, I'm always going to be different when I'm clean and fresh and groomed. And here's what I'm talking about. The daily routine for someone transitioning into a new life can be daunting. right? We are talking about starting a new life every single day we wake up. Every single moment, we have an opportunity to restart our reality and choose it. So we're always going to be stepping into a new life if we're trying to move forward and do, like Daniel said, what's next, right? So your life will rapidly increase in expansion and momentum in your new reality. Do not wait until you're expected to be seen by the world to care about your appearance. You want to be ready and present and present your authentic self to the world at all times. Do not mistake the desire to be comfortable and relaxed as your truth if you're allowing yourself to be unclean and sloppy. This is a pattern of illusion. Break it. We're not talking about, hey, today I'm going to be in sweatpants all day. We're talking about, is that your pattern? Am I getting up every single day? And am I waiting for my first client? Am I waiting for when I have to go be seen by the world to take care of my appearance? Well, isn't that really inauthentic if I'm waiting to be seen to take care of how I look, right? It's the nuances. It's the nuances. This may not fit you. Find the pattern where you are not taking care of your physical appearance. It may sound different than mine, but I'm talking about, this is what I have to deal with, right? I deal with, okay, if I'm not working with anybody until a certain time, can I get away with not taking care of myself, not eating until I'm seen on camera or until I go out in the real world? To me, that's really obvious that that's actually me being inauthentically in my power. That's not an integrity. But I used to see it as, well, I'm good with me. That's what matters. It's a yes and. It's a yes and. Look for the patterns. Let's see. Yeah. And again, we're talking about putting these things on your calendar as reoccurring events. So when I use Google Calendar, we put it on the calendar and it's saying, repeat. I'm saying, yes, it's every day. Now, what I did today, because I didn't follow the routine, I moved things on the calendar. Why? Because they were already on the calendar. Get them on the calendar. Ignore them. Move them. Way more empowerment than by not putting them on the calendar in the first place. If I plan it, I have flexibility. If I don't plan it, I become a slave to whatever activity happens. It's so much easier for me to ignore my phone when they're personal phone calls if I have a plan for the day that includes the entire wake state. And I'm already seeing results for that. Okay. Okay. Meditation and visualization. Morning, noon, night, self-care. This is probably where, when I wrote this one, I was like getting angry. I was like, this is where I'm like, basically like, if you don't do this, I'm going to fire you kind of thing. Like, don't bother paying me if you're not going to do it. If you're going to say, I don't have time to meditate 3 times a day. So hear me out. 30 to 60 minutes a day. Meditation or visualization in the morning. There's a piece of it at noon, and there's a part before we go to sleep, because we are mastering your life. We're mastering our creation. We've been here together long enough in this group, in this circle, to already know if you want to get more out of life, we're going to have to do more mental work. So the excuse of I'm busy is not a good enough excuse. You wouldn't have gotten this far if being busy was enough excuse to not show up or to remember the work we're doing. You wouldn't have the examples you've been sharing over the last 2 months if you weren't at least integrating these things in your life. So by saying we're going to meditate, visualize, and take care of ourselves morning, noon, and night is like this. So number 1, integrate the I am awake process immediately and powerfully every single morning. Activating the power of God, infinite source, the universe before you take any action. Do not even touch your phone. Remember earlier I was talking about we observe reality through our 5 senses. So that's why I say you have to try and do this as early as possible, as soon as you are conscious, because as soon as you're conscious, you start sensing your reality that you're already waking up into. I want you to do the mental work to say, no, I'm going to choose the reality I'm going to experience before my senses start telling me what I am already experiencing. This is why it works throughout the day. And you're able to perceive things differently as you've been sharing over the last few months. So do it first thing in the morning. Then at noon, midday point, during your lunchtime, command yourself to take 5 to 10 minutes to quiet your mind, shutting out all the noise and physical demands or senses. This is possible sitting on the toilet. This is possible sitting on a work site. I led a visualization with Men from Mankind Project where there was noise going on in the building, outside the building. It got louder and louder and louder, and I directed them to find the silence, the pause within the noise, and nothing else mattered after that point. The process went on for 2.5 hours in the dark, and the noises were still going on outside, and it was a powerful experience. So I'm sharing that with you. Like, find the pause, find the silence, because your conscious mind is always going. You choose what to turn up and what to turn down. So when you create an excuse to do this, to not do this, remember that you will be a slave until you choose not to be. I can not stress this enough. There is no role or title that you're playing in this life that you are living that is a valid excuse not to take time somewhere in the middle of your day. You've heard me say before, take 5 seconds before you turn that knob going into a meeting that you're running late to. Take a minute, take 2 minutes when you're showing up to an appointment in the middle of the day and you turn the car off and you don't hop out of the car. If you're already late, 1 more minute of getting yourself in alignment and quieting the world, yeah, it's worth it. Take the time. Take the time, because how you show up matters more than what's going on around you. And this is how we instill these concepts I've been teaching you in your actual day practice. Yeah, you are thriving in your new life instead of surviving it, right? Don't survive. So this calendar evolution, this calendar integrity is about thriving, not suffering and struggling until you go to a class or a retreat or an activity. Do it all day, every day, from empowerment, from your sovereign. And then at night, use the wish fulfill process, going to sleep with your visualization from the end, not of the end, from the end. You already have it. You have your prosperity, you have the lover, you have the career, you have the business. You already have it. I want you to go to sleep with a smile on your face, because how many times have we gone to sleep when we could not sleep until we burned out of the mental energy exhaustion and tears that we couldn't even express fully? Go to sleep with the wish fulfilled and wake up creating a reality, and have a buffer to remind yourself throughout the day you're living heaven on earth, period. Very simple. The hard part is believing you can take the time to do it. All right, so that's right. We want to do a fulfilling journal, brain dump, nightly revision of the events, replay the story of the day, and replay your reality the way you want to see it, because you can change that reality. Some simple breathing instead of watching anything, right? Because as we go to sleep, we are entering theta. Melatonin is being released into our body. We are going into a hypnosis. It's not worth watching something and binge watch something from your bed the last hour you go to sleep, unless it's literally inspirational. Because if you're numbing out to it to quiet your mind down, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'd rather you be triggered and break through than numb out before you go to sleep. I have several clients who have been saying that they are now experiencing new things because they've gone more than 2 or 3 days without smoking pot before bed. Who knew, right? Nothing wrong with it. But they noticed their life got better when they stopped smoking weed before bed. Why? Because they are able to do more conscious programming before they go to sleep. That's why, not because they're not smoking weed. It's the ability to have conscious, active, full immersive experiences living in that reality, going to sleep versus numbing out and subduing our senses. That's not going to work anymore. We know too much. Okay, so next we want to plot out your work, start and finish times. This is another deep one for me. Allow yourself to master your time and reject any illusion that your business require you to always be working and available. This is slave consciousness. Erase the ideals that keep this old pattern alive. Now, what am I saying here? I work with looking at my roster, 90% of my clients are either starting a business or already are running a business of some kind. If we behave like an employee when we're running our own business, we're going to burn out. We're not going to be as prosperous. And even if we are prosperous, it's fleeting. It's believed to be through hard work and hustle. And our familial, our intimate relationships are severely impacted. Divorces, breakups, not being present for husband and wife and kids because we're earning, and because, well, my business changed and I have to do these things. We start telling the excuse all over again. It is very easy for me doing what I do to think I can't ever not be available. And what'd that do? It made the money come and go, the blessings come and go, and I felt like an imposter at times because I'm not serving myself by going, oh, I have to be available for my clients whenever they need me. I'm going to burn out. So take that note for yourself. Whether you're in business or look at your work schedule, find a way to clock out and clock in. And again, everything here is flexible. We're talking about structural tension. If you do that, right, as I'm doing that, I'm way more aware and more responsible when I do break the rule. I can break the rule if I plot that I'm starting at this time, ending at this time. So now when I break the rule, I'm conscious, I'm aware of it, versus being on 2 or 3 or 4 phone calls till 1 o'clock in the morning. Completely different. I would not have found that moment to have that push that boundary if I just kept doing what I was doing before. I had to start making the choice to say no so that I can now choose to say yes at times versus surrender and say yes because I have to. So I hope you all see that as an empowering opportunity for y'all. Now, I think it's, yeah. You're not an employee. You're not an employee of your reality. You are the creator. I was inspired when I wrote this stuff. I was just like on fire. Now, meal preparation, scheduling your nutritional needs instead of just fitting them in. It's not about a specific diet, right? I keto, been ketoing for the last month, loving it. So therefore, I'm doing a little bit of intermittent fasting. Well, guess what? The first thing I did unconsciously. Next thing, I'm intermittent fasting for half the day. Well, that's not intermittent fasting. That's unconscious behavior again. I have to plan and choose my diet, not just say this is my diet and use that ding, 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 another fucking label. Once it becomes an unconscious label, what's the point? No matter how well you eat on that diet, you don't get results. We don't get results. So it can be difficult to fit in a nutritious meal while also managing your daily schedule. One way to make meal preparation easier is to schedule your nutritional needs instead of fitting them in. By planning your meals ahead of time, you can make sure that you're getting the nutrients your body needs. Additionally, this will help reduce the number of unhealthy snacks that you eat throughout the day by taking time to plan your meals. Again, I'm talking about ahead of time, taking the time to plan your future meals. You can make sure you're getting the most out of your nutrition. You can do this regardless of any type of diet you are following. The best I've ever felt is when, regardless of any workout plan, I had a diet and maintained it for 6 months before walking in that gym. I was always happy. I was always clear-headed and always able to access my higher consciousness. You do not need to be working out to eat better. I'm somebody that didn't get in the gym unless I knew I was going to be showing my abs on stage in 6 weeks. So guess what? That became a toxic pattern for me. Meaning, if it wasn't on stage, I wasn't in the gym. So every time I got the 6-pack and looked great on stage, I was actually hurting myself in the process. It was unconscious. It was fear-based motivation, right? It's working out because I'm scared, not working out because I feel good and I want to feel even better. And I want to look the way I feel. Doing this work with y'all, going into this new year, I'm blown away by how I look in the mirror. I look like I've been going to the gym for a few weeks, and I'm not. So what do I want to look at? I'm taking care of my food. I'm taking care of my sleep. I'm taking care of my habits of thought. So now going to the gym, I'm guaranteed to get extremely fast results because I'm letting go of any of the barriers that would keep me working out really, really hard and not getting results, because we know we can do that. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is a logical, realistic, scientific explanation for what I'm just talking about. If I have less cortisol in my body, I'm going to have less inflammation. So of course, I'm going to look better and not believe I have to work out really, really hard. I'm going to work out and enjoy the experience and get even better results without trying from the place of struggle and effort. Eventually, when I'm going to get the guts to go to have Danny embarrass me in the CrossFit gym, because I've never done that. I swear to God, I'll never do that. But I think this is the year, Daniel. I'm going to go one of these days when I'm ready. And now that I've said out loud, you're going to have to hold me to that this year. So
I will.
take care of your food, people. Take care of your food. Don't just plan your healthy meal the day of, plan it for the week. Remove the mental energy of trying to find the time. Choose the time. Plan your life around these things. Okay. Planning. This is a classic one. Plan for your week on Sunday. Anticipate the following day daily and be ready to make adjustments as necessary. So on Sunday, plan out what I need to do for the week as much as possible. As much as possible. I know I'm repetitive, but I'm talking about the fact if you don't know what's going to happen on Thursday, plan as much as you can on Thursday. Remove any traps. Plan it. Don't wait. I'll spend 15 to 30 minutes or more each afternoon to anticipate and make adjustments for each following day. So today I did some mid-planning for 15 minutes because my routine did not follow through the entire day. So I had to make adjustments. Normally what I do is I'd feel stressed and struggle and say F off to something unconsciously and then have to stress about it later. Or I would just push through and then let other things be sacrificed. By having the plan in front of me, I now realize it's not as bad as I thought it was. Because I have a plan, I know what I skipped and I know what I didn't. I'm not looking for opportunity to beat the crap out of myself, assuming I missed more than I actually did. No, I only missed a couple of things. And I can move that on the calendar and make up for that time in an efficient way versus shaming myself to get everything done because I put it on the calendar. My focused attention on my plan allows me the self-control to move, reschedule, and even cancel plans from a place of responsibility, leadership, and awareness. I will not resist planning out of fear of accountability because I choose integrity over accountability in faith that I am exactly where I am choosing to be. Now, we also want to calendarize and systemize our relaxing time. Integrating, what did I do here? Pursuing, must be a typo, and establishing ties with loved ones, pursuing, and acquaintances. Now, let me read this first. Interacting, exploring, and building relationships with family and friends is an essential part of life, not just the holidays. It can offer comfort in difficult times, facilitate socialization, and strengthen bonds. Additionally, it can be a great source of joy and pleasure, right? We know that friends and family can be a pain in the butt, but they can also be a source of joy and abundance because we now know to look at the situation differently through doing this course together. It's our choice on how we perceive the relationship with our friends and family and our parents and our loved ones, period. We must have balance and harmony in our creation of our prosperity and love of our life. Friends and family may not be there when you finally need them. So invest in your social life. I think I'm pretty clear on that. This means I have to find a few minutes every day to call somebody I haven't talked to in a long time. Not just the same person I talk to every day, because all my relationships are sacred, not just the ones that I'm comfortable with talking every day. So this gives me opportunity to overcome my own BS and reach out to somebody, even though it's been a few years, right? I keep thinking about them for a reason. So I'm going to stop waiting for the time to be right. I'm going to make the right time. It's a phone call. I may only get a text back. I may get nothing, but at least I'm putting a deposit in the fact that I care about this person. For me, I win anyway because I'm in integrity. Now, a day off, a 24-hour period of time for mental and spiritual well-being weekly. It is now recognized that 24-hour period is necessary for mental and spiritual well-being. This is because the body and the mind need time to rest and relax in order to function optimally, right? We know about working out. You need an actual day of rest for the muscle to completely, fully heal and actually get stronger and grow, or else it gets leaner and weaker over time, eventually. It is also important to allow time for the contemplation and reflection. So if I'm studying, if I'm consuming, if I'm working, if I'm efforting and pursuing my breakthroughs every single day, I may not be ready for the next step. And you're going to hear some more pieces here. In addition, it is beneficial to have a break from work and other obligations in order to focus on your own well-being. This time of rest is necessary for many reasons, including healing and integration will show up stronger when you do return to production, right? So if I'm studying the same topic every day even though I'm seeing the results, there's going to come a point where I might need to just stop. Because if our muscle heals when we break it down and stress it out and then let it heal with rest, the same thing happens mentally. If I'm trying to fit the formulas of what I'm learning together all the time, I'm not actually letting the epiphany show up naturally. I'm not just waking up going, wow, I realized this entire book I read, this entire course, it really means this one thing. It won't come to you if we're constantly working it to death. The need to understand, the need to process. We got to let everything go sometimes to find the truth that was hidden behind what we already knew, to find that unknown piece. You have to actually shut down and stop. So you've heard me say things about this before. I'm not so interested in the person who's never meditated before and has never experienced what we call the spiritual awakening process, i.e., intentionally going into flow state, waking up, I'm awake, right? What I'm here to teach people is to do it every day, to do it consciously, on command, without psychedelics, without going on a retreat, to do it when you wake up in the morning, to do it in your messy, dirty, alone apartment, because it is a mental game. So when you take a full day of rest, this concept of having a spiritual awakening every couple of months or a dark night that shows up, that excuse goes away. The people that are talking about on Instagram and that talk about a dark night of the soul and that they need to lose something or someone or something every so often to level up is still a limiting belief hidden within the spiritual awakening community. And coaches are talking about this stuff. It's old, outdated tools. It's not true. If I'm truly taking care of myself, I'm not going to need to be knocked on my ass spiritually to learn something new. So we want to remove the idea that one day or that 1 week every couple of years or every couple of months is required to evolve spiritually. No, that is a limiting belief. We take care of ourselves on a weekly basis. We rest, we stop. We bypass the need to go through painful experiences to level up our awareness. I hope that makes sense. One more time. Okay. A day of rest will protect you from the illusions of the hustle culture, the slave mindset. The hustle culture promoted by highly successful influencers are starting to crumble faster each day. We're seeing them one by one. These people who have got tremendous influence, they're screwing up. They're breaking down. The illusion's gone. We're finding out they've been faking it for years and using social media to be the influence. The belief is in the momentum. No, that's still a hustle mentality. It's still hidden with illusion. So truly successful members of our planet continuously promote the truth that to have financial, emotional, physical, familial, and intimate success in life, we must stop the lie that hard work has ever created any sustainable results. Hard work to attain means hard work to keep, and that equals you never really had it. You never really had it. If you're complaining how you lost it, when you finally got it yesterday, then you never really had it. You didn't really believe you deserved it. And when we earn through hard work and finally get these things we've tried so hard for, there's a big hint and a half when it goes away, whether it's money or relationship or peace of mind, that we actually didn't own and create it. We did it by default still. We're waiting to see it before we believe it. Well, in this class, we know we have to believe it and then we're going to see it. We persist in the belief. Now we're almost toward the end of this. So obligations, these are the things you have to do, the paying the bills. Schedule it in small chunks throughout the day, daily, giving your reoccurring tasks the same importance as all of the meetings in your business and personal life. Allocate a specific start and end time to your responsibilities, and this will increase your energy levels, enabling you to be more productive rather than wasting half your day extinguishing fires. I'm thinking about you, Daniel. I know we've talked about this before, and I do it too. I can put off all the things I need to do until one day a week. And now I'm burnt out. It ends up being the day I was supposed to be resting. And I still didn't get everything done. I make more mistakes doing things I needed to get done versus 30 minutes a day. Okay, look at my list of things that need to be done. Do them every single day and then clean them up, whatever's left over. So schedule it daily, not once a week. This is part of self-care. Daily power activities. Allot time to foster your success and development. So fostering success and development is a time-consuming process. However, it's important to make the time to do so in order to reach your full potential. It is also important to be patient and allow yourself time to develop and grow. So place your prospecting calls, follow-up, and invoicing processes on your calendar. I have found after working with business owners for years that there are beliefs around and a lack of prosperity that are directly tied to their resistance to properly billing and clarifying expectations with their clients, including myself, right? I still resist invoicing my clients 10 days early out of some fear they're suddenly going to not do it. And then it becomes messy. And now we're talking about it on a call. And therefore, we're pushing it further and further and further. When's the actual renewal date now? That's my resistance getting in the way. And ultimately, it's going to cause more disturbance between me and my own clients. Because now these things that should have been done already should be automated or get out of here for both of us, right? Keep your energy focused by getting ahead of things, pre-paving your reality, right? Brian talked about going on a date the other, couple months ago where he pre-paved it, right? Pre-pave everything. How you do one thing is how we do everything. Classic phrase. Now, in conclusion, this is about getting our vision. So that's why I asked at the beginning, what is the resistance? What's the first thought of resistance come up in your head? Had a client who said, okay, I'll wait and see what happens next week. And like, no, that's the exact opposite of this. We're doing this so we can get our vision. Our mission is walking around in our physical reality. The vision is what's beyond that. So by following the process of planning daily and weekly intentions, we can break free from our mundane patterns of survival and instead create a life of prosperity and love. This process allows us to have control over our own lives and make our dreams come true. We can take charge in our own destinies and create a better future for ourselves and the world, right? Because when we do it ourselves, our friends and our family see us and they are impacted by it. Whether they realize it or not, we are influencing by our own work. Let us take the initiative to plan our days and weeks with intention and purpose and pave the way for a brighter tomorrow. So what's next is continue to review your time efficiency needs and then use words that resonate with you in place of my suggestions, right? You have to be excited about your calendar evolution, not bored by it, right? When you do a awake process, you're awake, you're excited. Apply that to everything. If you want to live a sacred life, make everything sacred. So your prosperity and your love routine. This is your prosperity, not mine. This is your prosperity and love routine. Remember, you lead yourself or somebody else will lead you. So a lot to digest, right? A part of me resists doing it because I'm like, how many times have we sat in a presentation where someone said, you got to plan out your day on your calendar? And I'm telling it to myself, I hate that stuff. I resist it. I haven't done half of the exact things I planned last couple of days on my calendar. But the difference is I know what I didn't do. I actually know it. So I'm empowered. I'm still in charge. I move things. I choose to ignore them, right? We want to choose to follow or choose to lead. It's always a win if we are conscious and making the choice. If I think it's being done to me and I have no control over it, I will not appreciate the win and I won't accept the failure. I won't learn from it. So this is one huge step moving forward for all of us and for myself. Where I want to go, where my vision is taking me, the movement I'm starting, I have to find a way to have more structural tension in my day with flexibility based on my integrity. So thanks for hearing all that. Feedback, I want to hear, especially from you, Kendra, like again, we were talking about you on your end, you're used to more of the strictness. So what's it like to hear all this from your point of view? I'd love to hear some feedback from you.
I think I can probably delete some stuff from my calendar because I had started to put stuff in my calendar before I saw this. And I'm realizing I can make it a lot more simple and prioritize better. So
Awesome.
it's not so overwhelming.
So you were like going to the nth degree, like you again, because like your
Yeah.
resistance was, no, I need more flexibility. I actually am somebody who needs more flexibility. Yes, good, because this is basic versus project managing your day, right?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
obsessive. Again, it makes sense if you're a project manager, but unfortunately, that project manager wouldn't include self-care. They wouldn't include meditation, right? It'd be the project when they show up on the site and who is doing what, and they would clock out and they would not apply any of those tactics to the rest of their life. So I'm glad you see that. Good. Start deleting, right? Start deleting. It's about the structural shell, not the whip. Awesome. Thank you. Daniel, Danny, Brian, any feedback? How was landing on you?
So I love the flexibility of it. I'm not a schedulized person, which I desire to be a schedulized person. And I believe this calendar is that's my key. I'm excited, super excited.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, it's a work in progress, and like I say, I'm using very generic terms, right? Because I've hired those coaches, I have their versions, and it's all this like it's again more dogma, more language. I'm like, fucking no, my calendar says I'm awake. What, right?
Yeah.
My sleep time, it's called my programming time.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm programming myself, right? So you just get these basics down. And as you're doing the revision, you're going to suddenly get to Wednesday or Thursday. You know what? I'm going to change the name of this thing. Yes, apply to all events. Boom. Yeah, that's my badass time. Whatever. It's your calendar. It's your life. It's your reality. So good. I know you definitely need this. You definitely need this because you have a structured life that seems to have no flexibility. So we're going to move more interruption. So I want to talk to you about that later.
And I love how a lot of the pieces and a lot of the steps revolve around the work, and it's like things that I already know intentionally and I do or don't do, and this is putting it on paper.
Yeah, we're making it more integrated into actually working within our mission with the physical, tangible things. So again, we're removing the headiness, we're removing the spiritual bypassness that can kick in. We're making it, we're doing concrete things to be a spiritual entity living on the planet, which is like, I'm like, oh my God, that's the next big idea. This is like, I'm going to keep working on this until it just gets better and better and better. Cause you know, certain things are like, I'm really excited about, like I'm awake. That's like one of the strongest things I teach. This is going to be one of them.
This is huge.
Literally
I like it.
Making the real world spiritual on your calendar. Thank you. Great feedback.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian or Daniel?
No, I think it's, I mean, obviously I'm going to say, I think it's great. I'm a big believer that, you know, prayer always has to be met with action, right? It isn't just like always like open arms, gimme. And it's not like action isn't necessarily work either. I think it's, you know, like having the intention and seeing it through is a signal to, you know, the universe, creator, whatever, that like, we just like, like we deserve everything that we want. And so I think that like having this, like even just setting the intention and the steps to like walk it through, it's great. And it doesn't feel rigid at all. Like that's what I like about it. Like, here's some things, do these things, but they're all really fluid, additive. Like none of them actually felt like restrictive, like, oh, like, why would I want to do that? And it comes across as helpful again, without being like overbearing, because other coaches are like, oh, you gotta like structure your day and like cold shower in the morning and like all this fucking
my God, yes.
So
all the trendy stuff.
I like this.
Good.
So this is awesome. Thank you.
Good. And I wanted to hear your feedback because I know that we've talked about calendar and agreements, stuff like that. So I love that you're getting it, that you get it, right? This fits in line with, I can lean in heavy this direction or this direction. If I have it all on the calendar, I get to choose. Just like I am choosing how I perceive the rest of my reality, right? More awareness gives me the power. Thank you, Daniel. Brian, how about you? As someone who's never done this before.
Well, you know, it's been very loose. I don't want to say I've never done it before, because I've definitely planned and used calendars. Inevitably, I go back to having it just be free form, but I'm at this place in my life right now where, I have the mission of, you know, starting this tattooing business and how that integrates with my vision of my mission here and my purpose on this planet. And I've been struggling to like, okay, I did write a calendar 2 weeks ago. I built my Google Calendar out, but I didn't really know what the pieces should be in. But as I go further in this journey, yeah, like, bringing in meditation, aspects of working on my diet, practicing the tech, pursuing connection, community, it's like I can see the end result of who I want to be, but like to get from here to there, this list of things is going to help me. Yeah, I'm ready to jump into this.
Awesome. Awesome. So I think, again, you can see the flexibility of, it's more like, again, we're just creating more containers, right? It's not time blocking. It's like container blocking. Like, it's just creating the space. We talked about creating sacred space in your home, which is sacred space of yourself, multiplying that. Now we're talking about creating sacred time, right? Since time is an illusion, but yet when it comes to showing up on time, right, that's a real thing. So how can I, again, choose the sacred over the mundane? And it's like blew my mind to think, like, if I can apply what I'm teaching, what I live by, and finally like look at my calendar as a tool to further my manifestations and not as, the law of man, like the only put things on the calendar that are hard to do, right? When I look at it differently, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually more efficient with my visualization and meditation time. Get in, get out, right? There's so many times I look at my meditation, I'm going, well, I know I have this much time, but now that I am choosing to limit some of my meditation time, visualization time, because I'm doing it throughout the day strategically, because I want balance. I don't want to have days where I meditate a lot and then days where I don't meditate at all, because that's yo-yoing. That makes me good. That's going to have impacts that are going to show up. I'm not suffering, but is it going to keep me from getting what I truly want? Maybe. I'm always reaching to be happier and happier and get more and more and more. And what's next? And this is how I'm doing it. So yeah, looking at it as an opportunity to change it and be flexible, right? I only put time ideas in some areas, right? Which is so you make sure we know the more we're creating our reality, the more we need to be spending time in our head, in our heart. When we're defaultly going through reality, we're going to use more action and effort, and it's okay. But when I look at my calendar and I can recognize, okay, I'm doing a lot of action today. I notice I'm really tired and I'm not really loving everything that's happening, but I'm okay. I'm seeing the gold in it, all of it. And I go, oh, I totally skipped my meditation. Interesting. I'd rather be more aware of that as a reason to why I'm not flying high than, oh, well, what happened was this. Now I'm totally throwing out everything I believe in. I don't care about the conditions. I care about them, aware of them, but they're not the excuse for how I feel anymore. If I have a bad date, that's not an excuse for me to have a bad time. I'm going to have a good time no matter what I do. Luckily, I share with y'all, I use that tool to make sure that it actually did get better and better and better, because I was going to have a good time no matter what, right? I look at dating, like, if someone doesn't fall head over heels in love with me, they're going to have a great conversation and I'm going to get a hug and a smile, and that's it, right? The other parts, that's bonus. I'm like, I just don't want to go on a date that I'm like just regretting every part of it, right? So of course, my date started off that way because that was the one thing I was afraid of, is not being able to have a conversation. So what? I had to realize, well, that's the one thing you said you didn't want to have happen, Anthony. So there you go. This is the one thing happening. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to change it. I'm going to change that shit. And, now I'm going to go have a third date and we're having a good time. And it's all beautiful. So guys, thank you so much. Any last thing you want to say? I think definitely different energy tonight. Thank you everybody for your feedback. But I have so much gifts and so many gifts and so much gold out of this as I'm looking to the next step on what I can do for me in the business and where I'm going and what I can do with y'all, because I want to take y'all with me and I'm just figuring out how to do that. So I bless all of you. Let's do a quick round. Brian, takeaways, ahas, anything you want to solidify, integrate tonight before we go?
It's interesting that the calendar was the focus, because that has the thing that is between me and, like I said, that image of who I want to be. So, there again, it's like, okay, it's here. It came to me, and thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect timing. Danny.
Yeah, I'll second that. As well as stop getting in my own damn way. Facts. But the calendar thing is going to change my life. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Kendra.
When it comes to routines, keep it simple and consistent.
There you go. There you go. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Daniel.
I used to think that planning was all about, like accountability and the outputs and blah, 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 blah. What I've realized kind of from tonight and like within the context of everything I've done in the last couple of weeks, through this program is just, it breeds integrity. And I know that it's going to help me live even more in integrity and bring even more fucking glory to my life. So I'm stoked.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you all for being here. I did miss all y'all. I'm glad that you showed up and got to hear me teach this, because this is a huge breakthrough for me to step into my bullshit and let it go. So the calendar revolution. Let's see how it goes. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I'll talk to y'all soon. Love and blessings. Cheers.